Hello, my lovelies. I'm Ginny O, the author with no last name, and today I want to do a video on the hierarchy of drafts. And this is going to be a PowerPoint presentation for my visual learners. So, over the past month on the channel, I have been doing fireside or bookshelf side chats about the hierarchy of drafts and the type of writing advice that we need to look for when during different parts of the drafting process. And I did not have any notes on the screen. I didn't have any post-it notes to hand up to hover up to the camera, so I thought I would make a PowerPoint presentation for all my visual learners. So you have something to print off or to refer back to instead of having to scroll back and forth in my chats to try to find the information you're looking for. And I do apologize. It was not a great end of last month, beginning of this month for me. So I wanted to have stuff for the channel, but I just did not have the energy to put into a visual type of edit like this. So let's do a PowerPoint presentation, and I do understand that this will feel like I'm beating a dead horse at this point. Okay, so the three draft process. When we are going through our three draft process, we need to have some questions that we keep in mind about our different drafts. So what is the draft purpose? Who is the draft for? And what writing guidelines will be useful? And these will be the questions I try to answer quickly as we go through the slides. And if you need expanded versions, please go listen to the longer ones, and I guess you could keep up the slides up on another window or something if you need more expanded ideas of what type of advice you might be looking for. So what is this three draft process? Really quick. It's going to be that type of process that you learn in a creative writing course or a writing a paper course and in university to write persuasive papers or even to write a book. It doesn't necessarily have to technically be a three draft process. You might have 4, 5, or 6 or 7 drafts, but we're going to be using a three draft process just to keep everybody on the same page and to shovel you towards the type of advice that you need to be looking for at each stage in the process. So first draft, you're writing the story. Second draft, you're doing a development edit. And a third draft, you're doing a technical edit and a line edit. So some things to keep in mind while we're doing our drafting. It takes as long as it takes. Focus on what you're doing and not on what others are doing. That's a fast way to have imposter syndrome. Please don't compare your first draft to somebody else's first draft. Please don't compare, your first chapter to somebody's 20th chapter. You're at the level of writing that you're at. Do the best you can with what you've got. And, you can always clear things up in editing. And please yourself, not some sort of mythical third party. As long as you are not hurting anybody in the real world or perpetuating negative stereotypes or bigoted type things, don't worry about anybody else. Please yourself. I just want you to be aware that if you are writing, racial stereotypes or homophobic or transphobic stuff, you will be called out on it, even in the traditional publishing industry, and especially in a lot of these fan fiction stuff with reviewers where the community is a lot closer knit. But as long as you're not hurting anybody in real life with whatever you're writing, whether you're writing non-con or you're writing a harem thing or whatever, as long as you're not hurting real people, write whatever you want. Don't worry about offending grandma. It's okay to write for an audience of you. You don't have to out yourself. You don't as anything. You don't have to justify what you're writing or why you're writing to anybody. Just remember, it is okay to please yourself and have an audience of you with whatever you're writing, okay? Thought crimes are not a thing. So step one is we are getting the story out in the first draft. The first draft's purpose is to get what excites you about your story out of your head and onto the page. All right, that's all you're doing. You're getting what you love about the story, and you're getting it out of your head onto a electronic document or notebook or whatever, however you write. This draft is for you. Don't have to please anybody else. Just got to please yourself. Tell the story the way you want to tell it. So you have permission to be messy, nonsensical, confusing, daffy. You have permission to skipping things. So you can use summarization, and you can use like bracketing, where you say this is going to happen here and just move on. You know, if it's getting in the way of you telling the story. Maybe you have to like come back later and figure it out. I've done that. You don't have to write in chronological order, and you can be grammatically incorrect. You just have to get the story out. So what type of advice guidelines are we going to be looking for to keep you writing? Brain tricks. So changing the background color, changing your fonts. Maybe you're looking for inspiration, so you need pictures and music and recipes and stuff like that. Maybe it's self-care. Self-care means maybe you need to take a nap, maybe you need to eat something, maybe you need to go for a walk and, you know, problem solve on your walk. I like problem solving on walking. Maybe you need to just, you know, tell yourself the story before you go to take your nap and sleep, or before you go to bed. Turn that brain on and off. Just take care of yourself, long baths, showers, things like that. Maybe you're having a trouble getting to the end of the story because you don't know what the end of the story is, so you're meandering. So you need an outline, whether that's a traditional Roman numeral outline or a snowflake outline, or maybe you want to make a murder board with a timeline, or maybe you want to use post-it notes, or maybe you want to have a whole bunch of stuff, you know, pictures and yarn, and with yarn and, you know, little tic-tac, push tacks, and, you know, and create like a messy web of conspiracy theories. Whatever helps you. Maybe you need to be doing some research for your world building. So maybe you need to be doing how to research advice, or maybe just you need to be doing the researching itself just to keep yourself going. Maybe you need to be writing yourself a lore book for future reference. Whatever you need to do on that type of research. Let's go back to bracketing for a moment. So sometimes, you know, if you're stuck and you're saying summarization, bracketing, you're saying, you know, this cool thing happens there. Maybe you're stuck on a scene, and maybe you just need to put into brackets what my character feels and what my character thinks, and move on. And you might want to be summarizing what they feel and think, and just move on to the next thing so you can get the story out. You know, you can always expand later, okay? Or maybe you need to be thinking about where you write. Maybe you need a quiet office. Maybe you need to write at the library so you can hear other keys clicking and clacking. Maybe you need to be at a cafe where, you know, people are talking, that type of thing. Just figure out where you need to write, what type of energy and ambiance you need to write with, and go there. You know, simple enough, right? So when you finish your first draft, congratulations, you've written a book, yay! Treat yourself to something yummy, and then put it away for a couple months, okay? You want to put the book away for a couple of months, so when you come back to do your second draft, you have fresh eyes and a fresh brain, a relaxed brain, a brain that's no longer tired, okay? Because writing a book is a lot of mental and emotional work. So we're going to, in the second draft here, we're coming back for the second draft, and we're making it understandable, all right? We need to develop the story so the readers who don't live in your head with you can understand it, all right? Readers are not psychics. Sometimes you gotta be a little more obvious. This draft is for the readers. So can be a really emotional part. This is the emotional development edit. Okay, you need to expand on what is needed to move the story forward. So if you did bracketing or summarization, and those are scenes that really need to move the story forward, you're going to have to solve those problems that you had from your past self. You are now your future self, okay? Or what your character thinks and what they feel. Just expand on what your story needs to know to move forward to the next bit of it. And then you also are removing the irrelevant and distracting information. And you don't delete it, put it into another, put it into your lore book, put it someplace else. But if there's information that's just taking away from your story, even though you really love it, sometimes it's just not moving the story forward, it's slowing things down. Grab it and put it into another document for later. Don't take it away, This is what actually kill your darlings means, okay? If the scene moves the story forward and you love it, you can keep it. But if the scene's not moving the story forward and you're thinking, well, they just need to know it, well, do they need to know it right that minute? Yeah, keep it, but put it in a different document for later, okay? This is the place where we start figuring out that if our story is actually a story. Does it have a beginning, a middle, and an end? Or is it just a string of scenes together in a relative timeline, okay? That's not really a story. That's just, I don't know, it's kind of like boring, tedious life. You want a story where characters either accomplish something or they learn something, depending on whether it's, a character-driven story or a plot-driven story, or both. So are you on genre fiction, literary fiction, or upmarket fiction, okay? So you need to find where the story begins, and that's where the character starts taking action on the story itself, okay? And asking yourself, are your characters interesting? AKA not boring? Do they have, likes and dislikes and fears and hobbies and things like that? Are they likable? Are they, are they not annoying and obnoxious and grating? Are they sympathetic? Can we feel empathetic towards their goals and what they want and their needs? And are they relatable? Same thing. Do they accomplish something, or fare miserably, or make a big step, whatever your genre is, or wherever they are in your big story arc, while talking like real people? So we don't want daffy question and answer sitcom exchanges, in our second draft. So what type of guidelines are we looking for to clear up the story? Structure, conflict, goals and stakes, so what are they trying to accomplish and what happens if they fail? Or their characterization stuff, dialogue, description, are we describing enough or are we going into purple prose? World building, are we blurb writing? Now, I recommend blurb writing, and what a blurb is, it's the summary on the back of the book, so that you can tell whether or not your character has a goal with the stakes and has conflict, obstacles in their way to fulfilling those goals and stakes. That way, so that's how you can tell you have an actual story. Can you actually summarize it? You also are going to be looking for show versus tell balance advice. So you're going to come across this, advice guideline, show, don't tell, show, don't tell. What might be more helpful to you is to know what showing is and what telling is, so that you can have a balance of showing and telling in your story. Summarization tends to be telling. Daffy question answer interrogation exchanges tend to be telling. So you want to, you're going to want to lean heavily more towards show, but you're going to have some tell in your story. But you can show too much. You can lose the impact of your story if you show too much, okay? It can be kind of a gut feeling, Geiger counter. You might have to toss it to a few beta readers to help you out in the beginning. You'll get it as you grow as a writer. And for your second draft, you just need to choose a point of view, first, second, or third, limited and omni, and a tense, past or present. And just make sure you have that point of view all the way through your draft. In your first draft, I don't care how many points of view and tenses you have. In the second draft, just try to at least make it presentable. Okay? That's, just make sure you have pronoun agreements, everything is he, she, they, or if you're using first person, I, you know, whoever's telling the story, you know, type of thing, you know. So just make sure you have a singular POV and a singular tense, whether it's past tense or present tense, you know, and that you're not skipping around. All right. So can your story answer these questions by the end of your second draft? Who is the story about? What is it about? What are this, you know, what are they trying to accomplish? What will happen if they fail? What's getting in their way? Where is it set? When is it set? That tends to be a genre. And why are they doing this? That's again your motivations, your stakes, you know, what happens if they fail, and how is the story itself, you know, how are they going to accomplish their goal? Okay. And there's a lot there. So, you know, there is a lot here on these guidelines. So it's okay to run through your second draft, you know, several times. You can do a structure edit. You can do a world building edit. You can do a show versus tell edit. You can do a description edit. You can do a dialogue edit. Okay? You can do that in chunks. Don't let this overwhelm you. You can do it in chunks. So you'll be like, well, that means I'll have 3 or 4 more drafts than just one. That's okay. Just don't overwhelm yourself with trying to do it all at once. And the better you get at writing, the less, you know, the less you have to worry about these guidelines in your second draft. You're always going to have to be thinking about them, yes, but you know, you'll be doing more description automatically in your first draft as soon as you get more handle on it. You know, you might not have to do quite so much dialogue tinkering once you get the hang of dialogue, okay? So don't let it overwhelm you. Take it one bit at a time. Okay, so congrats! Again, you've written a book. You've taken the story you want to tell and you've made it readable and comprehensible and understandable to other people. So you might want to take a break again. Might not, I don't know. Sometimes you do need fresh eyes for this. Maybe you just need to be really tired for it. I don't know. But next we come back to the third draft, and this is making it legible. All right? The point of the third draft is to polish your story so it follows the basic rules of grammar and is readable. This draft is for agents, editors, and editorial reviewers who will leave you scathing, low-star editorial reviews if they don't like your grammar and will tell you so. So agents are going to toss manuscripts that they get if the manuscripts aren't grammatically correct and they don't follow Hemingway guidelines and they have bad spelling. Okay, they want you to know that you can self-edit. All right, they're looking to do the least amount of work possible, especially on a debut. Editors, because you're hiring them, they're not likely to be tossing your work, but you want to make sure, you know, give your editor a good view of you. You know, you want them to know that you are capable of learning and that, you know, you respect their time. So you want to at least get the basic things right before you send it to an editor, okay? And once again, if you manage to publish your book with a whole bunch of grammatical mistakes and, you know, spelling mistakes, and by that I mean like over 100, like if you have 12 to 20 in a 110-page book, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, you're an awful person. But, you know, if they're riddled across every single page, then you have a problem and reviewers are going to tell you so. Okay, so this is the tedious technical and line edit. So the technical edit is grammar and Hemingway style. You are subject to those rules. Yes, you are not special. You're not writing leaves-o-graphs or something like that. You have to follow these rules to make things legible, okay? Line editing is the process of reviewing your work for repeated words and detail consistency. So just if you use a specific adjective a lot or a specific simile and metaphor a lot, you're going to want to go in there and change them up so, you know, your readers don't start doing a drinking game. Detail consistency, name spellings, country spellings, country names, you know, titles, things like that, and props. whether or not, you know, they're holding onto something or wearing a jacket or whatever. You got to make sure that you know where everything goes. It's a lot of stage direction type of thing. Technical line editing is varying up your sentences and separating up their clauses and things like that, okay? You're going to miss things. Just please be aware of this. You are going to miss things if you edit yourself because you've been working on this so long. Your eyes are going to glaze over and skip over it. So you either accept them as book character or just hire an editor or two if you can. Like I said, if you have like 12 across an entire book, it's fine. You know, most people don't know the 17 rules of a comma. But if you have hundreds of them, then yes, you're going to need to have to hire an editor, okay? But even editors are going to miss things. Perfection is possible, but really, really hard to achieve. So you just learn to accept things. So here we are now at rules because these things do not change, whether you like them or not. So we need to follow the rules of punctuation, capitalization. We need to look at our syntax with the sentence structure, you know, taking sentences out of the middle of other sentences. So you're, you know, breaking up run-on sentences, things like that. You need to really knuckle down on making sure you're in past tense or present tense, depending on what you're writing. Advanced POV advice. Now is the time where you get really technical. What if you're doing third person, what type of third person are you doing, and how you know, because limited third person, nobody can agree on it, and Omni has 2 or 3 different ways you can do it, so you just need to really figure out how you're doing your point of view and nail it and keep it consistent throughout the entire book. Filter words and fuzzy words. Filter words are things like she heard, she saw, she smelled, she felt, sometimes she thought, you know, she tasted. So you want to go through and try to remove this veil of between you and the reader. If you're using thoughts as actual dialogue thoughts, then she thought is probably okay. That's like she said. Or fuzzy words. Now, fuzzy words are things that a lot of readers just skip over. Only, just, well, things like that. There are words like that and which you might want to get out too. There's just a lot of really words, lots of words that you can go through and just remove them because the reader's not going to pay any kind of attention to them, and you want to keep them there only if they really, 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 really need to be there. So there's lists of them on the internet, and you can find them, and a lot of them are words that we use in everyday speech, like so and well and and stuff like that to smooth our speech. The other one is something like, you know, things that are really like fuzzy descriptions. You want to go and make concrete descriptions, you know, take away something and make it actual, you know, seems is another one. You want to make sure you have actual concrete descriptions there. And this is also probably when you're going to go through your sense and, you know, how your attributions. So he said, she said, murmured, growled, muttered, sneered, snarled, yelled, you know, things like that. You want to go through, and especially when you're tired, because a lot of readers do this, read when they're tired or sick, and time when you're reading along and you have a lot of words and whispers and stuff right next to each other, that's going to really tire the reader out because they're going to notice them versus just the word said. Readers, this is the time when you want the reader to skip the word and just say said. You need the attribution so they don't get confused, but you want the word said, or you want to change it. If you're doing a growled or whatever, you might want to change it to some body language so that while they're reading, after they read the dialogue, they can, you know, see through body language what the emotion the dialogue has. This is also the time to do your action and response edit, action and response is kind of like characters having a fight. Okay, somebody throws a punch, the other character has to block before they can throw a punch, or the other first character can throw another punch. Okay, so action, response, action, response. So the character doesn't, so the reader doesn't get confused by the character doing 3 or 4 actions and then the other character doing 3 or 4 actions in response to those 3 or 4 actions. So you want to split those up by the character does 1 action, the character responds to that action, and so on and so forth 3 or 4 times. This is also a good time to do an active versus passive voice edit, as in kill as many to-be verbs as possible. Okay, you want an active voice. She slapped the preacher across the face versus the preacher was slapped across the face. You really want the noun acting on the verb. She slapped the preacher. Okay, and if you have lots of to-be verbs in your paragraphs, the reader's brain is going to get fuzzy. Of course, if you have too many active verbs like that, slapped, lapped, I just ran a lot of ed type verbs, the reader is going to feel kind of didactic. So you need to break those up with past participle verbs, which are ings. Yeah, I know it's a lot to think about. So you also are responsible for following some Hemingway rules, which are new subject equals new paragraph. So if you have a new subject of, you're onto a different topic, you need to move on to a new paragraph. When you have a new speaker, they need to be on a new paragraph. This is all to save your, be legible, to keep your readers from being confused. The 6 lines rule. Okay, so this is not necessarily Hemingway, but this is a good way to think about breaking up your paragraphs. I do this on 8.5 by 11, so 8 by 10. Actually, it's like 7.5 by, no, it's like 1-inch margins. So anyway, so I do this in my full size one with the big margins, but like I just make sure that I have break up paragraphs. The longest paragraphs are like 6 or 7 lines. Sometimes you can't seem to get a paragraph shorter. You don't want to put it into 3 lines because then it seems too short. That way you don't have full pages of texts. Okay, that's intimidating to a reader. And sentence length variation. You want to have sentences that are 2 words and 4 words and 10 words, but you need to break your sentences up. Okay? Once again, this is a lot. This is, overwhelmingly a lot at times. So don't be afraid to do it in 2 or 3 or 4 different waves, okay? Go through and be like, oh, did I get all my capitalization right? Did I get my punctuation right? Do a paragraph edit, go through for filter words type edit type of thing. Just take your time with it, and don't get overwhelmed. Just break it up into bits, or break it up into, do 2,000 words at a time, however you need to do it. You take care of the little bits and the longer thing will take care of itself over time. Okay? All right. So the last thing I've got to talk about here is for self-publishing authors. If you're a traditional publishing authors, your publishing house is supposed to be doing this. But format your book last. I do mean this. If you try to do all this type of chapter breaking and change page sizes and margins and scene breaks and all that type of stuff, while you're doing your first and your second drafts, you will end up redoing it yet again at the end of your third draft. Now, I wait to do chapter breaking at the end because that gives me a chance to, be like, do I need to add more? Do I need to take out stuff at the very, very end? Usually it's adding more. Because I'm self-published, you don't have as, when you're self-published, you don't have as many inflexible rules as you do in traditional publishing. So if I'm over by a couple thousand words, if it's supposed to be 110 and I'm at like 115, it doesn't make never mind to me. But so I just like to do my chapters last. That way I can go through and make sure I have a she thinks she feels and description edit, to bulk up chapters that are too short, and and if chapters are too long, just see if I have to break them up or whatever. Just do it last. That way you're not redoing your table of contents 3 or 4 times, and things like that. It's just a major headache. Do it last. I promise you'll thank me. So once again, you have written a book. This is a lot of work. It's mental work. It's emotional work. It makes your eyes cross and your brain go. So good job. Yay! Please treat yourself to something, that you like, that you enjoy, and, so you can associate more good feelings with actually finishing what is a great deal of work. I am very proud of you. If you get through all this and you publish your book, good job. I mean, super proud. All right. So really quick again, the 3-draft process. Your first draft, you're writing the story. You're looking for advice that will keep you writing. Okay. On the second draft, it's a development edit. You're looking for advice that will help you expand on your story and keep the story moving forward and create that tension so readers will keep turning pages. All right. And on your third draft, this is your technical edit for, agents and editors and, editorial reviewers. What you're doing for is you're looking for grammar mistakes. You're looking for Hemingway stuff. You're looking to clear up anything that's fuzzy or filtered words or, kill that to be verb stuff. You're just looking to make it as technically proficient and, make sure, if your character has a jacket and they take it on and off and hang it up somewhere, that you don't lose track of that stuff like that. Detail consistency. All right, that's how, and remember, on the second draft and the third draft, take it in chunks. All right, take it in chunks. Don't overwhelm yourself by trying to do it all at once. Go through, do a line edit, go through, check for filter words, go through, check for to be, go through, take it in chunks. All right. And remember, you probably won't catch everything. Do the best you can with the skills you have. And then if you have to hire somebody out, do it. You can hire development editors. You can hire technical and line editors. Please do not hire a development editor and a line editor. I mean, line editing a second draft is just ridiculous to me. If you're going to have, if you're going to send it to a line editor, and you're looking for a development edit by the time you're doing a line edit at the same time, it's just a bad idea. I have seen this. I just don't recommend it. And you're going, why aren't you recommending Grammarly and Pro Writing Aid? Yeah, we're gonna do a video on that. So remember, takes as long as it takes. Focus on what you're doing. Please yourself. You be an audience of you, as long as you're not hurting anybody in the real world. Okay, no libel here. No, okay. So, and take it in stages. It's okay. All right. So I hope this helped my visual people, and even if my auditory people, if you wanted some notes, here are some notes. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves, my lovelies. Bless, stay safe, and I will see you in the next video.